is to be. No, no, it can't be. It can't be.
It's the Silver Screen City.
All right, welcome back to Silver Screen Cynics. This is Jared.
And this is Michael,
Hey, and today we have a very fun episode for you.
as always.
What are we doing today, Michael?
Oh, well, we're going to talk about our least favorite movies. Now,
Wow.
to really tell the difference here between this list and previous lists that we've done, we're not doing the worst movies of all time, nor is it awesomely bad movies, because those are fun. Like, we're not talking about The Room or Troll 2. We're talking about movies that we just really don't like, that just make our skin crawl and make us want to punch a wall,
Yeah.
that are not fun to watch because they're so terrible. So this is definitely like a least favorite hits.
Mm-hmm. And this list was hard too because there's so many movies that I really don't like, but they have watchable elements. So that kind of, I don't know, that made it hard for me to choose like my least favorite of all time, because even movies like Transformers have some watchability, I guess. You can like show off the special effects at least. I don't know.
Yeah, and also I think these movies, what really resonate on my list is that I saw all these movies in the theater, so it was I took it personal that I didn't like it. It wasn't like, this movie's probably gonna suck. I might rent it, and then I watch it and be like, yeah, it did suck, but whatever.
And that's a good sign for me too, because when I go to the theater, it's usually a pleasant experience. I enjoy going to the theater and just sitting down and watching a movie on this giant screen with great sound. I don't know. It does something to me where I always come out of the theater pretty optimistic, even if the movie's bad. I'm just like, yeah, I had a good time. These movies are the ones that make me angry and make me mad that I wasted my money and my time. And that's very
Yes.
few movies have ever done that, and these movies are on my list.
Yeah, because you just don't know. Like, you assume that, like, it could be good, but then you're like, oh, well, I was completely wrong. It was terrible.
Hmm.
Also, it's just, I don't see, like, awful movies like this that I absolutely hate as, well, I don't see, like, awful movies like this, like the ones we're going to talk about anymore, because I'm very cautious. Everybody's very cautious about what they see in the theater
Hmm.
today, because nobody wants to, drop $15 on a movie that's might be meh,
Yeah.
and then when it is worse than meh, you're just like, ah, man, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't, yeah,
And as we get older, we don't want to sit through garbage. And I was looking at other people's lists, and they had like the most random B movies and like just movies that are so out there that of course they're bad. Just look at the box art or anything, the synopsis, you'll tell it's bad.
hmm
I usually stray away from just plain garbage movies. So these movies actually have production value. People put a lot of effort into them, and it was just a failure on all parts, and that's why they're on my list.
yes. Well, shall we get started? We'll go back and forth between
Yeah.
you and
We'll try to
me.
keep these a little brief, and it's gonna be hard because this is what we do. If you've listened to us before, we kind of do movies we hate lists.
Tangents. What's a
Yeah.
tangent? I'm
So,
always direct and to the point.
that's right. Yeah, Mikey's known for that. He's always precise
Yep.
with his critique.
Oh yeah, I short and sweet. That's the way I like.
All right. Hmm. I'm gonna save my least favorite of all time for last. I guess I'll go first this time since you went first last time.
Okay.
All right, number 4 on my list is Star Wars Episode 2: The Attack of the Clones.
Shocker.
Yeah, and this one was really hard for me because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I saw it in the theater, And Phantom Menace, I liked it in the theater. I was like, it had awesome Darth Maul fight, and it ended pretty strong. And I left the theater. It didn't quite resonate as much as I thought it would. The acting was subpar on Jake Lloyd's part and all that, and but I could overlook that because it had some fun to it, I guess. Oops. But Attack of the Clones, though, it had the poor acting with Hayden Christensen. He was just atrocious. The convoluted garbage plot, the writing was terrible. I mean, the constant CG was frustrating. Just everything about it left me depressed. I was angry after this movie came out. And they
This
tried
movie was firing all poop cylinders.
Yes,
It was just everything was bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of one thing that was good about it. Even seeing like an arena literally full of lightsaber battles, you think that would be awesome. No, it wasn't. It was ridiculous.
That was one of the it was so frustrating because this is the kind of stuff that fans were waiting to see, stuff like that where more Jedis existed. And it was we were expecting this giant, like, yes, look at all the Jedis they're going to destroy. No. What can the Jedis do? They can force push. Yeah, that's about it. And then they have Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson comes in as Mace Windu, and that was the definition of wooden acting. Horrible. Samuel L. Jackson is horrible in Attack of the Clones. And
dialed it in.
Not only that, is he cannot convincingly wield a sword of any kind. I mean, he is so slow, and he looks like an old man, just like, "Arr!" And he tries to do like a little flourish at the end of like a lightsaber swing, and he just it looked ridiculous. Hated it. I hated that movie. I was so mad. I don't know how to express it enough. It was just depressing. That was awful. So that's my number 4.
Okay. Number 4 for me is Little Nicky tied with 8 Crazy Nights.
Oh my god.
What? Yes. 2 terrible Adam Sandler movies in a plethora of terribleness. If this was worst Adam Sandler movie, this would be a lot harder. Little Nicky is just when they really, really figured out that they could do whatever crappy thing they wanted and cash out like crazy on the stupidest crap. Now, it's very arguable whether Adam Sandler movies really started to sucking before that, but this was just like jumping the shark bad. This was the first movie when I was like, wow, Adam Sandler movies suck. Like, this is the worst movie I've ever freaking seen. Do I need to explain the movie? It's about Adam Sandler is like the son of the devil, and he comes to Earth, and he's just like this awkward, like, he's like the second or third son, and he's just going around Earth trying to save hell from his brother. It's like the worst plot ever.
I want to know who looked at him when he was like, "Well, what's your character gonna be like?" And then he did his whole Little Nicky spiel, and someone said, "Let's go with it." People would like to watch that for an hour and a half. Just his whole like, "Oh, what's the matter?" Why would they think that was a good idea?
It's like really, really bad character. When he was on SNL, they would have been like, no, you're not doing that. Stick to Opera Man, and we'll call it a day. If I had to judge all his characters that he's played, this is hands down the worst. It's arguable whether it's his worst movie, period, but this character he did was awful.
I agree.
Yes, and I remember sitting in the theater and being like, what in the heck did I get into?
Yeah. I still have never sat through the full thing. I think I've seen it all, but like in increments. Like I've maybe seen a half hour from the beginning, and I was like, this is so stupid. Or like I'll catch it again, and like midway through, I'm just like, "Ugh, I can't stop watching. It's just so stupid. I want to, sometimes you want to watch something to just feel embarrassed for someone for some reason. I recently did that with Viva Rock Vegas, the Flintstones sequel. I started watching that just so I can feel sorry for the Baldwin brother who played Barney for some reason. And I watched like an hour of it. I was like, why am I still watching this?
Oh man. Well, yeah, I had a tie for two, so I guess I should touch on the other one. Eight Crazy Nights. Um, Eight Crazy Nights, same boat. 15 minutes in, less than that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what have I done? This is terrible." First of all, we thought, "Oh, a comedy that's not directed exactly towards kids. It's animated. That's fine. That sounds like it could be funny." Well, it wasn't at all funny. And I also didn't realize how much of a musical because it was a cartoon. They're like, "Oh, it's kind of like Disney. Let's make it a musical too." One lesson that you should know is that I hate being surprised by musicals. Absolutely hate it. I have no problem with seeing like a Broadway show or something or just a musical when I'm like ready and I can enjoy it. But if I if I go and I don't realize that it's a musical and it is, I am so mad. I will not enjoy it. It was really funny because me and my sister saw Sweeney Todd in the
Oh my
theater, and we're like,
gosh.
Tim Burton's movie. Silly us, we had not realized that Sweeney Todd is an actual famous musical. So all of a sudden, when they start singing, we're like, "What? No!" But anyway, Eight Crazy Nights was awful. What's the target audience on this one? I don't know. And
Wow.
let's just say all Adam Sandler movies past Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison are number four on my list.
That
Just
reminds
just
me,
about.
just talking about musicals, I should have put Into the Woods in my list.
Ooh, yeah. Learn my lesson. Didn't
I
see that.
I rented that from Netflix and I fell asleep after about 45 minutes maybe, and I woke up and it was still going, and I just sent it back. I packed it up and said, "Nope, you're going back." It was awful. Like I could not stand watching any more of it. It was so bad. Anyways,
All right.
on to my number 3. My number
Yes.
3, I put the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes movie.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, it's a shame too because Planet of the Apes is awesome, and this was when Tim Burton was still pretty relevant. I was very excited for it, because I love his style. I was hoping to see some Tim Burton signature, kind of dark style.
It was awful. Like, I mean, I feel like there's never been like a director that stepped out of his element so much and failed so terribly. It
Yeah.
almost makes you feel like was somebody holding a gun to Tim Burton and being like, "Do it, make this movie. Yeah, make a big budget. Do it or you'll die," you know? Cuz he's made way better movies since then. It's just that was awful. The
Yeah.
worst remakes.
Yeah, it was painful to watch, and we've already talked about the ending, and in fact we made up the our instead of jump the shark for a while there, we were saying we monkeyed the Lincoln.
Monkey the Lincoln and Nuke the Fridge.
Yep, monkeyed the Lincoln, nuked the fridge, jump the shark. That's how big a deal that ending was. That was one of the worst endings in cinema history.
It's so funny when movies roll the dice on like we'll leave it very open ended because we're gonna get a sequel, right? And then it
Yeah.
fails terribly, and they're like, "Oh,
Now
that was awkward.
it's
Now we'll never
forever.
know." All right. Well, my number three, I'm gonna say The Hulk by Ang Lee. There are very few movies that I actually see in the theater that I've fallen asleep in, and one of them was The Never Ending Story Part Two, and the Hulk. Fell asleep in the theater seeing the Hulk because it was so boring, so freaking lame, so different than like the comic books. Nick Nolte was in it, you know. Good lord, why is Nick Nolte in the Hulk? And I mean, he wasn't just like Nick Nolte. It was like mugshot drunk Nick Nolte.
That's right. Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
He was
Bruce, I'm your father. They made the Hulk look like some big blow up balloon that was like a big bouncy ball or something.
uh
Whose face was all just flat, like moon face Hulk. Yeah,
huh.
that just
This movie holds quite a renowned title for me in my movie history. This is the only movie I've ever walked out of in a theater.
oh, nice.
I saw it a second time in the theater, and I couldn't do it again. I don't know why I went again, but I've never walked out of a movie before, and I just said, I'm not gonna do this, so I just walked out. Yeah, I mean that's worse than falling asleep because I've fallen asleep for a few movies. Field of Dreams was the first movie I remember falling asleep to, and but yeah, this is the first movie I've ever walked out of. All right, my number two goes to Catwoman. I don't even know why I saw this in the theater. Honestly, I mean it didn't look good. This movie probably has the worst villain I've ever seen in any superhero movie. I mean, Sharon Stone, she's all right, I guess. I don't really care about her, but I don't think she's awful. But her character it was the stupidest villain. What was her superpower? She had like iron makeup or something, where it turned her face into iron. It was so stupid, and I don't remember much, but all I remember is I hated this movie. It was a pain to watch.
Pretty much kind of ended the high point of Halle Berry's career. That or the
Yeah.
DUI. Ew.
Oh.
Cool. All right. I got to think of a wild card for this round. I want to say The Beach. The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio.
All right.
All right. This movie was like the movie that pretty much nearly killed Leonardo DiCaprio's career. Thank goodness it did not.
Is that the Danny Boyle movie?
uh,
Didn't he direct it?
yes.
He did?
Yes.
Okay.
I did not know that. I kind of feel bad that like a Danny Boyle movie because I usually like Danny Boyle. Um, yeah, this movie was just painful. All sorts of just uncomfortableness about this movie. Nobody was likable in this movie. Tilda Swinton, creepy leader of this like little island commune. It just kind of just a very bizarre movie, and especially when Leonardo DiCaprio goes out on his own or gets exiled, and he's like tripping, and he's like running through a video game. Wait, what? It's so ridiculous.
Man.
They say like when you see a certain movie, if you were not in a good mood or you didn't feel well and you didn't like it, you're really not gonna like it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I remember we watched The Matrix the second time for me, but the first time for my sister when we had the flu, and she hates The Matrix. It's like, because you had the flu when you saw it, you
Yeah.
know?
I almost put the second Matrix movie on this list.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that would have been good. Oh, man.
That yeah, that's an honorable mention. That's a quick honorable mention right there because I really hated that movie.
Just to put some little more point in me not liking the beach, it got a 19 on the tomato meter on Rotten
Ooh.
Tomatoes. Validated.
Let's
I'm gonna go into it. I'm gonna do it. I'm sorry, Jared. Tangent time. Woo woo.
do it.
Alert. We got to talk about some people, and that is the brother team turn sibling team turn sister team.
Oh my gosh.
Wachowskis. Man, did they
What
like?
on earth?
Yeah, we won't get into that.
Well, I
uh,
mean,
ugh.
after The Matrix, I mean, it's just, in my opinion, I think they've just been constant spiral downward in
Oh
quality.
gosh. Yeah, it was amazing how great the Matrix was, and then the problem with the Matrix Reloaded that it was like, huh, this is odd and not as
Yeah.
the first one.
I mean,
You know?
The Matrix was like 85% action, awesome, and 15% philosophy and out there-ness. The Matrix Reloaded was like the opposite. It was like 85% philosophy and garbage, 15% action and fun. and it was so boring. We don't care about this stupid philosophy.
Yeah. Can you imagine what it would have been like if they just didn't do The Matrix Reloaded or The Matrix Revolutions and they just let it The Matrix? That movie would be such a freaking huge hit. And
Yeah,
then all of a sudden they decide we're going to do a sequel to The Matrix now. That would at least have like the most buzz ever.
yeah.
You know,
Did you
maybe
did
not as much as
you did you ever see Cloud Atlas?
Ugh, I should have put that on my list.
Yeah.
Dang it, there's a lot of good movies that I okay, I don't want to say I hated it because I couldn't make it through far enough to really form an opinion on it. Like it was so weird and boring. I'm like I don't
it,
I didn't even care. That's probably why I
did
tried
you at
watching.
least did you at least get to the Asian part?
Oh, oh my gosh.
Th-
Yes.
This has
That
to be one of the most awkward and
inappropriate.
the worst ideas ever to instead of casting Asians to make your white cast into Asians with eye prosthetics and
Oh my
it was
god.
so weird looking.
You're missing the point, Jared. You know, it's about we're all connected and even though we're Asian or white, we're all the same, you know? Doesn't matter, you know?
There's better ways of doing that than to put Asian eyes on someone. Why can't
Uh,
just give them the same character name and give them like some kind of visual cue, like the same hair. You know, they have like a purple strand of hair or something, something that would link them. That you're like, okay, that has to be the same guy. It's linked somehow. No, let's give them some Asian eyes.
Tom Hanks.
And Hugo Weaving,
Shame. Shame. Parade him
Hugo
around.
Weaving looked so weird with Asian eyes.
Ugh. I want to parade Tom Hanks around yelling shame.
Yeah, bing.
That completes my what round was that for me? I think I just kind of like
Just kept
took
going.
over. I just kept going.
I still have my number one, and then I'm done.
Okay.
All
Hit
right,
us.
my number one least favorite movie of all time is Sucker Punch.
Which I haven't seen. I'm so
You
excited.
haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just never got around to seeing it.
Let's
Never.
set it up a little bit. Okay, you know, Zack Snyder's just coming off of 300, huge success, and didn't we see that together? By the way,
Yes, heck yes, we
we
did.
traveled to see it together. That was cool.
Yeah, when saw it in Roanoke, the
Yeah.
big, the big city.
And so we saw that, and you know, 300 I thought was really cool. And then he had The Watchmen, which is, you know, that movie. I saw it in the theater. I was like, that's not what I was expecting. It was a little weird, but then
Yeah.
I've watched it more and more, and I watched the director's cut, and I like it. I actually think it's a good movie now. It's grown on me quite a bit because it is a very ambitious movie. Anyways, so Zack Snyder, you know, he's had pretty good success. So he's like, well, I want to make my own movie with my own idea, and let's see how that goes. Because I got some ideas. I like to do comic stuff, so I'm gonna make my own. Does Sucker Punch, and arguably one of the coolest trailers I've seen. I was just so excited for this movie. It had the giant robot samurai looking thing. It had it had dragons. And
Yeah.
and you know, and these girls that they look pretty sweet with their World War II outfits, like shooting stuff. I was like, this looks amazing. You know, it's got like hitting on all cylinders of stuff that I like. So, anyways, I go to see the movie, and it is nothing like that. It is absolutely nothing like the trailer. The trailer showed the awesome parts. Yeah, those parts were in the movie, but guess what? Those parts weren't real. Those were all made up in her imagination to escape the horrors of how crappy her stupid life was. And oh my gosh, I haven't seen it since it was in a theater, but she was like in some kind of I don't know. It was like a strip club or dance club or something, and these girls are like We need to get out of here. Ugh. So then, like, the owner comes, and now that I think about it, I think the owner guy might have been Oscar Isaac. Just I don't know if it was. I'm just kind of have a mental picture. It might have been. Anyway, so to distract him, she goes and does a dance number, and as soon as she starts dancing, it's like, like the slow mo thing, and then it goes right into a fantasy world. Like suddenly the girls from that she works alongside are like, oh, we're fighting samurais now, ah! And then that action sequence is over, and it cuts back, and she's done with her dance number, and it's like, really? Did you seriously?
That's awful.
Did you seriously just do it? The whole movie's like that, though. She's just like one dance scene after another. She's dancing for a guy, and then that's it. And it is so boring and stupid. If they would have just cut out the whole real world stuff and just made it like, even just like a half hour of the action sequences, I'd make all right. I got my money's worth. Nope.
That sounds awful.
It is awful. I was so frustrated that it was nothing like the trailer said it was.
It sounds like a mix between Big Fish and Coyote Ugly.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
It sounds really stupid.
Yeah, it was stupid.
Oscar Isaac's character, and it was called Blue Jones.
Yeah, I don't know how I remembered that, but I didn't even know who Oscar Isaac was.
Like, who's this guy?
Yeah, I didn't like
Little
him.
did you know? Man, yeah. Zack Snyder. I just feel like I'm taking crazy pills here, but like everything he's done since Watchmen is he's not a good director. Like his
No.
movies are awful, and people get like really like confused and upset when Man of Steel sucks, when Batman versus Superman sucks. Like
He's like
I feel like
he's
what
like
do you
the
expect? Zack Snyder makes things sucky.
he he's like the M Night of action films.
Oh gosh.
Because for one thing only is he doesn't I mean he does what he does really well, and that is he can create awesome visuals, and that's cool. 300, that's why 300 was so good, because it was
Yeah.
very very minimal story and let the action shine, and that's what he does.
Yeah. 300 is good, like the Expendables, well, is almost good. It's like
Yeah.
a great popcorn movie,
Yeah.
But
But yeah, like just like M Night though, he has great vision, just can't execute. He needs editing. He needs someone to edit stories. And Batman versus Superman is the most clear cut case of this. He needed someone to just say, let's dial it down a little bit. Why don't we focus on one good story? We'll build that story. I don't know if it's studio involvement saying we need to rush this Justice League out right now, but he needs to focus on story first. Absolutely, number one is story, and
right.
he doesn't. M Night Shyamalan is like, well, I'm gonna do story, except I'm gonna just turn it on its head at the end, and no one can tell me any different. And then he makes a piece of crap. I don't know. It's frustrating. I want to like Zack Snyder. I think he's got so much good property at his feet. People are throwing the DC movies at him, and why can't you just make them awesome?
Yeah. I don't know, man.
That's my biggest hope for the DC universe, is that they're like, all right, now that we have all these movies we need to make, let's just diversify our directors and get some talent in here,
Oh man.
because they need it. They need it desperately.
They they need to regroup. They need to regroup badly. Like they need another origin story with a great director to stick around. They need another Batman Begins, another Batman trilogy. That's their,
I mean, I think they should have had a Superman trilogy. It just because they went straight from origin story straight into the Justice League, and
right.
and so Superman still hasn't had a chance to really shine, and that's I think that is a big mistake.
Yeah. He's definitely got the short end of the stick.
All right, what is your least favorite movie of all time?
Okay, one of my least favorite movies of all time is this movie based on a H.G. Wells book, The Island of Dr. Moreau.
What? That's
Yes.
my favorite movie. I'm kidding.
What? Uh so so it's a little older. It's came out in the mid early 90s, and I don't even really remember what it's about, other than this guy goes to this island where this mad scientist is creating half-breed humans with beasts. It's a really old story, really famous, and somebody finally had the cojones to make it. And I remember it just looked cool, and I remember my dad taking me to see it, and we saw it, and it was just so weird and bad, and it was just so just cringeworthy. First of all, Brandau was in it, and he was the weirdest he's ever been. The whole like mini me thing, that was that that joke came from Island of Dr. Moreau. And the little scientist from South Park, he had this little mini like weird kind of burn victim like sidekick. That came from Island of Dr. Moreau.
Uh-huh.
And the story goes with that is that Marlon Brando had this little friend from India or somewhere that he wanted in the movie, and they just put him up there with him and wrote him into the movie. It was super awkward.
Oh my god.
It was just a terrible movie, but one shiny gem out of the whole thing of this movie is recently there was this documentary that came out about the making of Island of Dr. Moreau, which is a great documentary. It's called Lost Soul: The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau. And what happened was this movie is basically this director, Richard Stanley, was kind of like an up and coming, like Tim Burton, Wes Craven. He made these indie horrors. He's super weird. He got fired from the job midway through the movie, went crazy, didn't leave the island, was like hiding in the woods. The next director was anger problems, fly off the handle. It had two of the biggest egocentric actors on the movie, Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando, the two of the most difficult people to work with in Hollywood, and they were fighting. And it was plagued by terrible like weather. It was either like monsooning and they couldn't film, or it was like dry and hot. It was like the worst condition for a movie ever. And the documentary is so entertaining to see. So, yes, Island Dr. Moreau was so bad. I can't even say it's so bad it's good. It's
Yeah.
not. It's just really bad.
Me and Mike were talking earlier about the documentaries, and it's amazing to see the making of movies like this because of Marlon Brando, because he's so weird and out there,
Yeah,
especially in his later years.
he had a scene. For one scene, he wore an ice bucket on his head the whole time.
And it's similarly, if you watch the documentary about the making of Apocalypse Now, the most
Yeah.
fascinating stuff is all about Marlon Brando and how it's just they struggled so much to just film anything because he's just like, I don't want to do anything today. I want to lay down. And they're like, all right, well, let's just film you laying down. And it's like, by the way, that documentary is called Into the Heart of Darkness, I believe, is the documentary.
Yeah. So, yeah, those are my most memorable movies that I can't stand.
Yeah, I'm kind of depressed now thinking about seeing these movies.
Yeah, it's like, I want to actually go back and watch this documentary again because
I'm going to. That's number one on my list. That's the next thing I'm watching. I'm excited.
cool.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, that wraps it up. Tune in next time.
Tune in next time.
Send it.
All right. Thanks for listening. Y'all have a good week.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.